What's up, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one, I want to break down what's happening with Tesla SPY in the overall markets. But please note that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Webull link. If you deposit any amount of money, you're guaranteed 12 free stocks. If you deposit $500, you're guaranteed 20 free stocks. Deposit $2,000 or more, and you're guaranteed 40. The offer ends very soon, in just about 6 days. Anyways, now let's talk about what's happening with the market. So Tesla got this nice little pump so far. We saw this thing dip in the morning to my target around 252. It actually came a little bit above that, so it wasn't too bad. And then buyers did return, once again breaking this resistance. And we did mention how if we broke 262, we're looking for 270 as our potential target, which is very close to where Tesla ended up going to. So now the question is, what's going to happen from this point on? I'll talk about the charts in just a minute. I want to address this news right here. There's a lot of talk about how the new Tesla Model Y vehicle is out, this and that. It may have been spotted, but actually, this is not necessarily the truth because there's been a lot of talk about how this could be the Tesla Model Y Juniper, the new refresh, but it's not 100% confirmed or guaranteed. Because you have to remember the last time Elon Musk and Tesla talked about it, they said that Tesla does not plan on giving us a refresh for the Model Y this year. That does imply it is possible they could be doing it in later years. And I think they eventually will. But for the time being, they're shutting down these rumors, and there's no confirmation this is truly it. So once again, there's been a lot of prototypes that may have been spotted in California, possibly, and same thing in China, but it's not confirmed by Tesla. We can't say this with 100% certainty that this is truly what it is. So yes, it's a possibility that they could be working on a refresh, but nothing's confirmed by Tesla, so I wouldn't become too inclined to believe that that's exactly what's going on right now. And just know that because Tesla has not confirmed this, we can't necessarily deem this 100% credible. But the media is kind of accepting this as what it basically is. This is what the new design looks like, and this and that. Even though we don't know for sure, it's a possibility, but we just don't know for sure. That's why I just wanted to call that out, just to kind of address this report. It's not confirmed yet by Tesla. On top of this, I want to mention that we had the Michigan consumer sentiment data. Everything was very close to expectations. Consumer sentiment was above expectations, with the 5-year inflationary expectations looking decent, and the market liked that news thus far. But I do have one concern, guys. I think that SPY in the market is starting to slow just a little bit after seeing so much upside. We pumped very, very nicely, exactly as predicted, but the market's starting to slow a bit, and this could slow things down a little bit for Tesla as well. But just know this, okay? So Tesla pumped really, really, really well. It's been pumping and pumping and pumping, but we're hitting this tough resistance right over here between 271 and 268. It's a tough resistance. It's very tough to just break through that. It's not very, very easy. So if we end up turning, and just listen to this very carefully, we're going to be looking at 268 and then 270 is our main resistance areas. If we start dipping, we're looking for basically 265 and 262 is our supports. If 262 fails us, we're at risk of coming all the way back down to where these lows happen to be in the lower 260s. I think there's a good chance that Tesla's going to be dipping back down to 265. So just to keep that level in mind. And then we'll see if that holds or not. If it doesn't, we could be getting closer to 262. I still think Tesla will hold up a bit, but it is at some very, very tough resistance. So we're not just going to easily just break past 270 like that. It is historically a tough resistance. So I think it's going to take some time for Tesla to break it. So we will break it most likely in the future, but we're not ready yet. We might see a lot of range bound price action between 270 and 265. So I just wanted to give you guys a heads up about that. We're at some tough resistance. All right. Now for SPY, we have something else that's going on. SPY had this nice little pennant and tried to break through this, looking bullish. But notice that we touched this wedge. And this is what's very interesting. I never, ever touched this wedge, guys. I left it the same. And even though I left it the same like this, you will see that SPY was respecting this very nicely. And then today what happened was we rebounded, and now we're retesting the wedge. And I talked about this possibility in my video yesterday. We could retouch the wedge, and we haven't been able to break through that. So we're kind of slowing down a little bit from there. So we're looking at support at 582. If we hold above this, we could technically attempt to get back up to these highs. But if that fails us, there's a risk of us dipping back down towards 579.5, 580.9, and then 579.5 is our targets. My gut is telling me that because we hit this resistance, we're slowing down just a little bit. It is possible the market slows just a bit more, possibly going into like next week. So it could be a little bit of a retest of like the 580 area before we attempt to bounce again. But I think that SPY for the most part has been stuck between 578 and 585. And I think that as we try to push very close to 585, it's a tough resistance. That's why SPY might slow down a little bit more, get closer to 580 before it attempts to rebound. So that's what I see, at least for SPY thus far, maybe a little bit of a slowdown. If we look at ES, we pumped very nicely to about 5,900, very close to expectations. Now we're dipping again. We might be coming back down to these moving averages. So we could be on our way back down to about 58.65 if we don't hold above 58.80 on ES. So keep that in mind, guys. There's a risk of it dipping just a little bit more, especially heading into next week. Nvidia pumped very nicely. We did hit 144, and we're looking very strong right now, breaking out of this pennant. So Nvidia is not showing that weakness. We need to lose 142 to turn back to bearish. We're not really doing that. We actually remain more bullish, and we could just continue to see this be range bound between 142 and 144. Once again, not really losing 142 quite yet. So I think it's going to hold up and outperform the markets. Bitcoin did end up coming down for a dip exactly as what I told you guys in my morning video. We could get close to 67,500 before we try to bounce back up again. So look for a potential slow number for this thing attempts to rebound. For NQ, we pumped very nicely, very, very nice pump. But the issue is we have this tough resistance up here. I think my line got deleted. I had a line right over here around the 20,700 area. But basically, right over here, very close to 20,700 is a tough resistance. If we hold above that, we remain more bullish. If not, there is a risk of us retesting 20,573 and 20,500. We could be dipping back down here and just continuing to remain range bound. So we'll just have to give this the time it needs. For the QQQ, we're looking at this resistance up here. We ended up coming back inside of our little pennant-like structure. Not pennant, our rising wedge-like structure. We're looking at 500 as a tough resistance. The QQQ is very close to that, but be careful, guys, because every time historically we hit 500 to 505, we have rejected. So, in my opinion, we could be looking for a retest of 500. We'll see if we can hold above it or not. If we don't hold above it, there is a risk of us returning back down to about 496. So be careful with this tough resistance, guys. I just wanted to give you guys a heads up about that. We might push a little bit more on the QQQ towards the 500 area, but we'll see if that holds or not. So be careful at that resistance. Apple managed to break past my target of the 230 area, so I said to watch 231.5, which it also broke past. Now we're looking at 232 to see if that holds. If we hold above that, we're looking for this imbalance fill for 234 next week. If we don't hold above 232, we could be dipping, so we'll have to give that a little bit of time. For the IWM, we pushed very nicely to this resistance at 221 points, or just under 222. Now we're dipping back down, so we're looking at the support at 219.8. If 220 fails us, followed by 218 flat after that. For Coinbase, we're looking for a nice little rebound right over here. If we end up losing 207, we could be dipping, but we're holding above it very nicely. So we're looking for an attempt to get up to about 214. I think we're just going to shuffle between 207 and 212 until we see which way it breaks. Amazon pumped very nicely with a watch resistance at 190. We have a nice zone. As we hit 190, we tend to reject, and we like to get bought up around 185. So we'll be watching 190 to see if that holds or not. If we don't hold above it, we could be dipping back down towards our support at 188. For Meta, we're looking very, very nice. We're looking at this resistance here. We have 578 as our resistance right now. We have support down here around 576.5 and 573.5 in those ranges. So look at 578 as a resistance to see if we get a rejection or not. So give that the time it needs. For Microsoft, we're forming a very, very nice looking cup and handle like structure. We'll see if we hold above 430. I think it is possible we try to push for this next imbalance for 435. We still look very bullish, but we will see how things end up going as long as we hold above 430. Google's doing a good job. We're just range bound between 160 7 and about 165. So I think we're just going to be range bound between there as well. There's not really a whole lot going on with that. But anyways, as far as Tesla goes, I just want to give you guys that warning about how this could slow down just a bit and retest the 265 area, if not 262 if that fails us. But I think Tesla's going to remain range bound for the most part between 265 and 270 for most of the day. So keep that in mind, guys. 270 is a tough resistance. It is still possible we break it, but just know it's going to be a very tough resistance, and we need to give Tesla more time to kind of develop. All right. So thank you for listening. I'll see you guys in a couple of hours for another update, and peace out.